Hello, TandLers, and welcome back to TandL Talks, the podcast for, about, and featuring incredible educators. I'm your host, Nancy. Today's episode is a little like opening a music case and discovering not just instruments, but stories, purpose, and leadership all tucked inside. I'm joined by two of our amazing elementary music teachers who are also serving as teacher leaders on our elementary music curriculum adoption team. Colin Spears from Pope Elementary and Morgan Myers from Ridgecrest Elementary. Together, they're helping shape the future of music education in our district, thinking deeply about how students learn music, how teachers are supported, and how curriculum can honor creativity, culture, and community. In this conversation, you'll hear about the teachers who changed their lives, what surprised them about the adoption process, and how student voice and engagement guide their decisions, and why, no matter the curriculum, the heart of education will always be the relationships and joy that teachers build with students. So settle in and let's get started. Hello, TandLers. I am here today with two of our fabulous music teachers. They are also teacher leaders who serve on the elementary music adoption team. Please introduce yourselves.
Good afternoon. My name is Colin Spears. I am teaching at Pope Elementary in elementary general music. I have pre-K through third grade this year.
And hello, I'm Morgan Myers, and I am a general music teacher at Ridgecrest Elementary. I teach kindergarten through sixth grade, and I'm also our general music content lead.
Thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. I always like to start out with this question. Tell me about a teacher that had an impact on you.
There's only one for me, and it's a private instructor. My French horn teacher, Larry Strobel. His wife is actually
Wonderful
named
name.
Nancy Strobel.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, no joke. She played flute for a number of years. He recently passed away, but I sat down and met with Larry on Mondays at 4 p.m. from 6th grade through 12th grade.
Oh, wow.
Didn't even miss summers. Like, I was outrageously consistent with him. But as the middle of 5 children, it was the first time in my life that an adult kind of that I was doing something with my time and was invested in me as a pupil. And that was really life-changing for me, and it made music something that I wanted to continue with for my life. And I didn't know I was going to get led into education through that, but at the time it was really empowering to have someone that cared so much.
I love it.
Yeah, I can think of a lot of teachers that were monumental in my shaping. I think my high school choir teacher definitely played an important role in my growth as a musician and also my inspiration to become a music teacher. I was fortunate because I got to have her in middle school, so I had her for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And then she went to go get her master's for 2 years and ended up getting the high school choir job.
Gosh.
So I had her for 11th and 12th grade too. And it was just really great to be able to have consistency and somebody that I had for so many years and watched her grow as a music educator. And I think that's really what inspired me, like, oh, I can do this one day. I really love working with students. I really love singing, and I want to have both of those things in my future. So she pushed me hard to go to school for music education.
That's wonderful.
The power that teachers have is just incredible, and I think we forget that in the day-to-day work. But I ask the same question every time, and people always talk about relationships and somebody who sort of lit a fire under them. And I just think, gosh, that's a powerful position. We are really, truly shaping lives every day. It's a great gig to have, right?
Sure is.
But one can't see the whole painting when your nose is in front
Exactly.
of it. You know? Every day is a dot in a painting of pointillism.
Yes.
We can't see the full scope of what we do on any given day.
Right. And sometimes it doesn't show up until years later, right?
Yeah, 100%. My mentor teacher at college, she always said, there's one student every day that's going to walk out of your classroom and it's going to be shaped for the future. And you don't know who that student is, but they're there.
That's a beautiful thought.
That is beautiful. I love it. So let's talk a little bit about the elementary music adoption team.
Oh, yes.
What made you say yes to this, and what made you think that this work is important?
I can go first. I just finished my master's this year, and I think a lot of that work was shaped in pedagogy and kind of what I'm teaching and why. And so I think part of my gravitation towards this committee was wanting to be a part of the reasoning behind what we're teaching and why. And so I think that's partially why I, volunteered, but I also am the content lead, and Julie and Jamie and I work hard together to make sure that our music teachers are supported. And I definitely wanted to have a say in, the next step in being able to support our teachers and what they're teaching. And if I'm not on the team to create that, it's hard to support them and what they need. So
Right.
I feel honored to be a part of the group as well. I mean, it is the future of our curriculum to be a part of, what's coming and what's going and where are we now, and is that the right place for us to be? Besides examining what else is out there, being aware of all the different avenues that we might take and the things that we can explore is monumental work. And I mean, if we were really critical about this, we would be doing this all the time anyway, if we had the funds and the means to do. But given that the opportunity was here, I jumped at the chance to be a part of it because it is such meaningful work to be, shaping the future of our district.
Thank you. So is there anything that surprised you once you started doing this work?
Yes.
What surprised you?
The scope of resources out there and how some of the different curricula did some things really well and others did not do things quite as well. But being able to see how many options there are and where we actually stand in the grand scheme of things. Going from the day to day, we only get involved with the one curricula that we have, and it's really impossible to see the whole picture of music education from that one viewpoint. So I was surprised at the different levels of things that are out there, very much so.
I don't know if this is necessarily a surprise, but I've just been really appreciative of the lenses that have come into the space. I think through the 8 of us, there's many different lenses and thoughts and ideas on how music education should work and how students should be learning and when. And I always feel blessed to hear the viewpoints of other educators. I mean, we don't get that a lot. As music teachers, we're sometimes the only ones in our building. And so it's really, really awesome to be together and hearing, oh, well, this is how I do this. And this is a weird lesson in this curriculum because it's out of place on how I do this. And I think it's just a really great opportunity for us to be a cohort and learn from each other as well. So I'm thankful. I am surprised of the conversations that have come out of our just couple of days together.
Right.
That was well said.
Which kind of leads me into the next question. How does teacher voice show up during the adoption process?
Well, we all come with our own backgrounds, lenses, and parts of music that we feel are the most important, or how do we communicate that this or that lesson. And being able to have a group of us really helps us, I think, find a more middle ground, because some of us have different strengths and opinions and things. Finding that middle space is, I think, a great way to help us make sure that we're making the best decision that we can for everybody that we are affecting, because it's a big responsibility.
For sure.
Yeah, I think we also come with a variety of experiences within our buildings as well. I think this is no surprise to anybody listening, but Puyallup School District is a very large district, and we have a lot of schools that are in differing situations and differing populations of students, and so it's just really important for us to get a large variety of people on this team so that we can really speak to the student experiences in our classrooms and how the curriculum is going to shape and develop their music education experience. I also know that as far as teacher opinion, just not only did we talk as the 8 of us, but I know there's been several like surveys and different things sent out to the whole music education group and general music in specific, and how they can respond to our current curriculums and what they would like to see in future curriculums. And it's been cool as the content lead to be able to read that feedback and bring in those lenses. While we would love to have release days for all of our music educators, there can only be a small group of us, and I think having the opinions and ideas from everyone that was able to give feedback on those surveys and things has just been monumental in our discoveries of new curriculums.
And I think that's a good reminder, too. People sometimes think, oh, I'm not going to bother with that survey because nobody reads them. We really do. We really do. And it matters. We want to hear from our people, right?
If we don't have open lines of communication, we'd be doing ourselves a severe disservice.
Right.
And to our students, of course.
Right. So what kinds of things are the team members paying attention to as you all are reviewing materials?
Go ahead, Morgan.
Okay, we have a survey. Well, first, our bias testing had 8 different categories, I think. Was it 8? And they had a variety of things on them, like pedagogy and scope and sequence and cultural responsiveness and standards and alignment and teacher preparedness and time.
Yeah, the time management piece.
And cost and sustainability. So each of those categories we started with our 4 curriculums that we were kind of diving into, and the 5th one was our current curriculum. And so we had 5 altogether, and we went through and rated on a scale,
on a 1 to 4 scale.
1 to 4 scale.
Each of those separate 9 criteria for each of the different pedagogies, including the one we're using.
Yeah, and so the first day we met, we had like demonstrations from each of the websites or each of the curriculums, and we were able to, each person on the curriculum team ranked each category on a 1 to 4. And then Colin was awesome enough to find the weighted categories and do the actual percentage math on each of those weighted categories. And I believe we got those weighted categories through the general music teachers. I thought
that was a full survey from all the GMs.
Yeah, so they kind of ranked things in importance, and that's how we got those weighted categories. And so it is really important and awesome that we were able to bring in people who aren't necessarily on the curriculum team, but who are very important in the overall view of the curriculum, right? And so we ranked those categories, and we got like our final percentage numbers for each category for each curriculum. And the first day we ended up Xing out 2 curriculums.
Yeah,
was that
we were
right?
able to pretty quickly decide the 2 of them were not going to serve our students to the best of
and so then we went ahead to today, which is our second meeting for our curriculum review, and we've now done a second bias screener today, and we are going to go through those categories and re-rank what we've seen now that we've been using the different trials in our classrooms and how they've been relating to students and how we've been able to teach them and that kind of stuff. So it's been cool to see the different categories play out, and also interesting how the first day when we got the first kind of introduction to the curriculum, how we rated it different than today when we've spent time teaching it in our classrooms and doing things in our classrooms.
It's true. Doing a deeper dive with a couple curriculums has been a lot more enlightening because you can see the way that students interact with it and how it's going to apply to our classrooms individually, as well as across the district. Well stated, Morgan.
And I think, I forgot, the most important category is student engagement. And we have just had a great time talking about how our students have responded to the different curriculums. One of the ones that we ended up not going with early on, I remember talking about how we showed it to like an intermediate in class, and they were like, "Oh my goodness, what is this?" And so we've had good stories about how we've introduced these things and maybe not got the student engagement we were hoping for. So
we got student engagement and certainly feedback.
Yes.
Very clear, right?
Yeah.
So is there anything in this work that either makes you think about Tier 1 music instruction differently or reinforces your thoughts around Tier 1 music instruction?
I think both. I certainly get a bit of reinforcement from seeing that other pedagogies and other avenues we might explore do things the same or differently, but noting that we're all kind of trying to get the same thing to happen for every child. Like, we all would love to see children leave with a appreciation and love for music and love to make music.
Absolutely.
They come in with that, like they're ready to go, they want to play, and helping organize them in ways that they can do that successfully together is the big challenge of our job. Every curriculum's going to seek to do that, so we're all starting from the same baseline. We just need to find the framework that suits our PSD work the best.
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said, Colin. Great way to phrase that. I also think that, yes, I have definitely seen how in many of these curriculums, I've been surprised that the standards and alignment are very similar.
Yeah.
It's just the scope and sequence and the pedagogy differs. So it's really interesting to kind of, yes, we all are working for the national standards, but how are we getting to that point has been just enlightening to see in all the different curriculums. And like Colin said, our work has really been centered around figuring out what's best for PSD students and where we are located, and the cultural responsiveness that we want our students to leave our classroom with has really just been a profound part of our work here.
What is challenging about this work that people might not know?
The integration of new curricula in the moment is, I think, very difficult to figure out. If I'm teaching even the same concept across two different curricula to the same level of students, I still have a completely different group of bodies that I'm teaching to.
Right.
Or even if I'm teaching the same concept to the same group of students, either they already have some background knowledge and know it from prior, like if I taught it through curriculum A and then curriculum B, well, they already know it from the first one. What more is there to learn? And they might just poke holes in it. But I really think the biggest challenge is trying to find the time to prepare for a new curriculum in the moment as we're teaching. It's kind of doing double the work as we get set up for any given lesson.
I think my biggest challenge, and probably speaking for a lot of people, is that nobody loves change. Right? Nobody is like,
it's uncomfortable.
Yes, it's a great day to make change. And so I think part of the challenge from my perspective is definitely like trying new things, trying new curriculum in the music room. My kids are like, what in the world? What is this, Miss Myers? And they're just as apprehensive to change as I am, especially when I tell them a change is coming. And so I've learned that I haven't been telling them when I'm changing the curriculum, when we're trialing it. I just kind of do it. And they've been much more acceptive of the change when I don't tell them that the change is coming. So I think that's been the most challenge, is like, especially my kiddos who have had me for a long time, they know that when they come in, there's something on the board, and it's usually from our current curriculum, and they know what to do with it exactly when they enter. And now it's different screens that are up on the board, and they're like, whoa,
what's going on?
The routine has been changed. And so I think for my older intermediate students, I've had the conversation, hey, I'm on this curriculum team, we're trying out different things.
Yeah.
I just want to see how it works in here. So I've been able to set them up for that change a little bit. But my primary students, we've spent half the year following routines, and so having a change is definitely apprehensive. So I think that's been a challenge, but also I know something that I feel deeply is that my decision and my interactions on this team are speaking for all of general music and all of our students in the PSD, and I think that comes to me often. I'm like, oh my goodness, like this is a challenge to really represent the district. And I do think about that frequently. Okay, what will my colleagues say about this, and how are other students experiencing this in the Valley or somewhere else in our district that isn't Ridgecrest? And so I think that's been a challenge as well, is just trying to take the viewpoints and the lenses of other people who aren't here, and being able to kind of try and get their voices from surveys and or talking to them to be able to speak their perspectives in our meetings as well.
It is certainly a challenge to integrate everybody.
What conversations has the team had to wrestle through together? What obstacles or challenges has your team faced?
I think we are approaching everything with a pretty open mind. I feel like the team has a really great cohesion of personalities. We're really well balanced, it seems, and we get along pretty well, which helps quite a bit. But going through all these different lenses for all these different curricula, we all have a different opinion on every part of it. And that's one of the things that makes this work, I think, so valuable and meaningful, is the challenge of working together to come to common ground.
I think a lot of our maybe differing conversations have really been from like the things that we're passionate about teaching or the grade levels that we're teaching right now. I know that like for one of our members, he's really passionate about teaching guitar or stringed instruments. And so some of the conversations are like, oh, well, this curriculum doesn't have this, but this does. And some of us are looking at each other like, I had no idea because I don't teach guitar, right? So it's kind of interesting to hear those perspectives of like the differing things that are really important to us as a educator, but might not be like at the top of somebody else's list of really important to them. So that's been interesting. Also, there are several of us who only teach like 3 or 4 grade levels, but some of us teach 7 grade levels and different support center classes and things. So that's been something we've been communicating with, is like, okay, well, how would this engagement look in a primary support center class, or how would this engagement look in TK? Because some of us don't teach those classes. And so I think that's where most of our hard conversations have been, as far as I can't really put myself in that position because I don't teach that group of students. So, tell us about it, or what does this curriculum do that you like for that group of students? So I think not necessarily challenging conversations, but definitely conversations that I wouldn't have even thought of until they came up in that space.
Right.
I'd agree.
What do you hope teachers understand about the curriculum when it shows up in their classrooms?
I think it's important to note that some curriculum decisions are beyond the group as well. So it's not just like what we push for and want, that sometimes different environmental things can change the curriculum that we are choosing. And so I think, we've been told, rank them, 1, 2, 3, rank the curriculums. And we don't know if number 1's going to get chosen. We don't know if number 2 is going to get chosen. And that process beyond what the curriculum group does on our own. And so I think that's something that I want my colleagues to know, is that maybe we recommended something as the first slot, but other environmental factors might have played into it not getting chosen as the first slot. So I think that's important to note as we move along. I also think that, with the 8 of us, like I said before, we came with different perspectives and lenses, and we tried to find a curriculum that kind of meshed those things together and created more of a balance. And I think it's important to note that if our colleagues have questions about the curriculum or why this was determined when and how, I think it's important to be transparent and ask those questions, and the team will be able to fill you in. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Transparency is important. And no matter what we do, the board ultimately gets the final say. I hope that our colleagues walk away knowing that we really came to this with a lot of work and with open hearts and open minds, trying to find the best thing for our district. And regardless of anything else that happens, the most important thing is our colleagues. The communication of music and the joy of music and the love and passion that we share and give to the students ultimately comes first from the teacher that's in front of them, not the curriculum. The curriculum is secondary to the connections that they foster with their students first.
And your team has had a lot of discussion about that today.
True.
The importance of how teachers approach whatever curriculum it is, right?
Yes.
Well, and I think, too, that all of our work here today and our past meetings has been built on advocacy for music and how we want our students to walk away with these experiences regardless of the curriculum. I think it's important that we have the curriculum as something to teach off of and to get standards and assessments across, but I also think that making music is so focused on the community and the growth of our students' social emotional learning and their empathy and working together and being a part of something bigger than them. And so I think regardless of the curriculum, we know that our colleagues do that every day.
Right.
It is that group aspect. You can't make music by yourself. You need others.
Yeah.
It takes that community involvement, to be sure.
So if there's a teacher out there who would be interested in serving on an adoption team for any curriculum area, what advice would you give them? What would you tell them?
Get your sub plans ready. Not for reals, but it is some planning, and I always tell my students, I'm doing this for the future of our music, but I would much rather be with you today. Absolutely. So I think coming with an open mind is super important when you're on a curriculum adoption team, and knowing that, yes, you have your values and you have things that you appreciate about curriculum, but part of being on this team is listening to others and understanding the different ways that our students and different populations work together. And so I think I've just been so thankful for the experience of hearing different people's perspectives.
Right.
If I got asked about it, I would certainly tell anybody, go. Join that work, because it's so valuable. It's wonderfully fun. I mean, I can't lie, I'm having a lot of fun doing this as well. I know the sub-plans are a bit, and it does take an extra amount of preparation, but the opportunity to see all these different lenses of advocacy, communication, and music to be presented or possibly presented in anybody's classroom is really wonderful. So, yeah, if I were asked, I would tell them, go, do it. Absolutely.
Right. The collaboration is worth more than the preparation, right?
Absolutely right.
Well, and you bring up that preparation part, and I just want to acknowledge, I don't know that all of our listeners know that when you serve on an adoption committee or on a cadre, that work is done during the workday, and we get sub days. And the benefit of that is that we get to spend chunks of time with you to do the work when your brains are fresh. It's harder to do it after you've been teaching all day, right?
Yes, absolutely.
I'd say impossible. If my brain's not fried by the end of the day, I don't feel like I'm doing my job well.
Exactly. And there's also that responsibility that you take on of, we know that being gone from your classroom isn't easy. It requires work ahead of time and work afterwards. And so I just want to make sure that our TandLers know that this work it's important enough that you make that sacrifice. So thank you both for your leadership.
Absolutely.
Thank you for the time.
Yep. Thanks for being here on TandL Talks.
Oh, it was a blast. Thanks so much, Nancy.
Thanks so much to Colin and Morgan, not just for this conversation, but for their leadership, thoughtfulness, and the heart that they bring to this work. Listening to Morgan and Colin reminds us that curriculum isn't just pages or platforms, it's a promise that every student gets access to instruction that helps them belong, create, and find their voice. And that promise only comes to life because of teachers like you. To all of the TandLers out there, whether you teach music, math, reading, science, or anything in between, this episode is really about something bigger. How teacher voice matters, how collaboration shapes better systems, and how the relationships you build every day may be changing lives in ways that you won't see for years. Thank you for the work you do. Thank you for the care you bring, and thank you for being part of our TandL Talks community. I'm Nancy, and I will see you next time.